Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the Dr. Vibe Show, also host and producer of the weekly Black Men's Roundtable that's on most Sunday nights called Do You Know What Time It Is at 9 p.m. Eastern. Also, you can catch me once a month at the Good Men Project, hosting and co-producing along with Marie Roker Jones, the monthly Google Hangouts for the Good Men Project for premium members. And as always, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. Another special guest on our show. He was supposed to be on a few weeks ago via the phone, and the phone thing just wasn't happening. So we rescheduled, and then we got him in full, as we used to say in the show, called in living color tonight. And we've got Andre D. Harrison. He is the head of a not-for-profit organization focused on promoting the responsibility, opportunity, leadership, and education through workshops, mentoring, counseling, and resources for fathers who desire to play a role in the lives of their children. The name of the organization is called The Roll Call, and roll, R-O-L-E, is in capital letters. And the mission is to eradicate fatherlessness through training young men in what it means to be responsible men, fathers, and husbands. They provide support to single mothers raising children without the presence of a father, and by reconnecting absentee fathers with their children. The Roll Call passionately promotes answering the call to fatherhood by living and leaving a legacy. And he's also a single father of 3 boys. So, wow. And he's also a family worker and fatherhood specialist, and he's a member of the Staten Island Borough President James Oddo's Advisory Council on Children and Families, a board member for the not-for-profit organization Fathers Rock, and founder and director of the Roll Call. Andre, do you sleep, by the way?
I'm sorry. What was that word you just used?
I just said, do you? Yeah, sleep. Yeah, okay.
Sleep.
I didn't say that word. I'm
No,
sorry. Swore.
do I what? I'm not sure what that word is.
Well, welcome to the Dr. Vibe Show.
Thank you for having me.
Harrison. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me first. I want to apologize
No, it's
for
okay.
the last show. Technical difficulties. I think technology is an amazing thing when it's working properly.
But it's no different than people.
Yeah, you're
Right.
right. You're right. Sometimes I'd rather technology than people.
That's another show. That's a
whole other show.
All right, my brother. Well, thank you for finally taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us tonight. Outside of the wonderful accolades that I've just shared with our audience, tell us what it was like growing up as a young man.
Growing up, I think I shared a little bit about this before. Growing up as a young man, I'm not going to say I had like an extremely horrible childhood, but there were seasons in my youth where I grew up, just pretty much confused, and I felt like I didn't, like my youth wasn't completed. I was always searching for something, and I didn't know what that was, but I was always searching. I mean, even when it came to finding a relationship with God, I was always searching for something. I visited every kind of religion and cult that you could probably even think of, just searching for meaning and purpose. I found it in God when I was 17, but even prior to that, I think part of the big reason why I was searching so much, why I wanted to know my purpose in life, was because of the lack of not having a father in my life. So I didn't know what direction I was going in. I had no idea where I was going and how I was getting there, because I really didn't have a man to show me that direction or show me how to get to where I needed to be. So my whole adolescence was just a time of self-discovery, and I finally found myself when I found God at 17.
Just let's, if you don't mind spending some more time between those 0 to 17 years, what kept you going and kept you going during those 0 to 17 years until 17 years old you found God? What kept you going? What sort of institutions or people kept you going?
The most important person that kept me going was my grandmother. My grandmother was the one person that really kept me going. If it wasn't for her, I don't know where I would be. Her love, her support, her unconditional love, her support, her example of selflessness. Don't know where I would be. She is very wise, She's turning 90 this year, and Lord willing, she'll make it to her 90th birthday. But very wise, and was always there for us. My mother was there too, but my mom was a correction officer. She's retired now. She was a correction officer, and when you work in New York City corrections, or if you are familiar with the New York City correctional facility or correctional system, you know that if you work as a correction officer, your life is not your own. Your life belongs to the city, and the deputy wardens and the wardens, they tell you what to do, when to do, how to do it, and what time to get it done. And you don't have a choice in the matter. So there were times when my mother was stuck and she had to work overtime. Overtime is mandatory in the New York City correctional setting. So if you work there and you are stuck, you are stuck. That means you're going to be missing recitals. You're going to be missing school plays, parent-teacher conferences, things like that. And my mother did what she did because she wanted a better life for us. And now I appreciate that. I do wish I had more time to spend with her because growing up in my teen years, we didn't go on vacation. We didn't take family trips places. We just didn't do that. And that's things that I do with my kids now. Every year we go, I take a trip out of the country by myself. I deserve that. I want to go somewhere
Well,
by myself.
that's the least you deserve after all the things. You deserve some me time, brother.
Yeah, I'll spend a week, and I kid you not, I'll spend a week on a beach doing absolutely nothing. I may have my laptop and I may do some writing, but I won't do much. That's it. And then me and my kids will do another vacation, either like the Poconos up here in Pennsylvania, or drive down to Florida. Do something. This summer in August, we're going to take a couple of weeks and go to Ocean City, Maryland, spend some time on the beach. But growing up, I didn't have that. In fact, I think the last vacation we did take, we went to Virginia Beach, and I was about maybe 12.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, but I understand now why she was doing what she did, because it wasn't like as my mom is a loving mom, and she did a job that she didn't want to do for 20 years because she wanted to give her children a better life. So I can't fault her for doing that. I do wish we had more time to spend with her when I was a teenager, but I do understand why she made the decision to work with inmates.
Okay.
Like nobody want to go and work with, criminals. But
Yeah,
and before that, my mother worked for the Board of Education, so she went from being in the working for the Board of Education to working corrections because she wanted a better life for me, my sister, and my brother. So I understand that. But yeah.
How did it affect you at during those young years, growing up without a father?
Man, I made a lot of stupid mistakes.
Okay.
Typical New York City kid. Growing up without a dad, make stupid mistakes. And I wasn't that type of kid that carried guns and sold drugs. Yes, I did marijuana quite frequently, and that was one of my vices. My vices was also girls. I liked girls. But that was me, partying, girls, occasional weed, and basketball. And got into stupid things with some friends. But again, I didn't have the ear of a man to say, Andre, this isn't the right way to go. In fact, the men that was sort of coaching me in life were the guys around the way, and they were sort of coaching me silently because I was watching them and trying to mimic certain behaviors that I thought were manly because the older guys in my community was doing it. So here I am trying to discover what manhood is because I don't have a father to tell me what manhood is by looking at the negative influences of what manhood is within my community.
Okay, good stuff. Before we leave out of that, you shared with us some of the things that your grandmother instilled in you. What sort of other values or nuggets did your grandmother instill in you, especially from those 0 to 17 years?
She taught me to value my life. All right, now, true story. My grandmother's Trinidadian. She's a Trini woman, right? And Trini women don't. They give sometimes they give harsh lessons, motivated by love. Okay, I think I was about maybe 7 years old. All right, we were living in Brooklyn at the time, and I didn't get my way. My grandmother told me I could not do something, right? And she said, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I went in the back and I was yelling, "I hate myself. I want to just die." Right? So my grandmother comes in the room, right? And she has something behind her back, and I'm like, "Yes," he said, and she had in her accent, "You want to die?" I said, "No." She was like, "You want to die?" I said, "No." And she pulled out a knife from behind her back and she says, "Here, die. Go ahead." And I was like, "No,
Wow.
Grandma, I don't want to do it. No." And then she spoke to me afterwards. She said, "Don't you ever say that again. You value your life. Don't you ever, ever
Right.
say that again." Um,
Right.
and uh, and she walked off with a little smile on her face, you know. Um, and that's the type of person she was. Like she was teaching lessons like that. So I value at that point. I started to value my life and understand that. Even at a young age, I may not be perfect, but I like who I am. Um,
Right.
and I think during my teenage years, that sort of started to fluctuate my self worth and value because during those teenage years when you don't have um, consistency. My mom was physically there, but she couldn't be consistently there because of her job. My dad was gone out of the picture altogether, and the only consistent person in my life was my grandmother at the time. Um,
Right.
it's sort of like, okay, here I am getting everything that I need, or everything that I should be told from my grandmother. It's got to come somewhere else. And then you start searching other places, which is probably why I started to do what I did with females and
Sure.
hanging out and trying to find my identity in other places because um, truth the fact of the matter is a man would a young boy would understand or a young boy would receive from a man that listen son you're a man now then better than he would a 70-year-old 60-year-old woman telling you all right boy you're a man act like it
Sure.
so yeah so
When you had mentioned at 17 years old,
mhm,
if I understand and listen correctly, a turn began to happen in your life.
mhm.
Can you describe that moment of that turn
That
starting?
moment. All right. Here's how it happened. Okay, freshman year in high school, everything was all good. Okay, I was, going to class. I think I pulled in maybe like a 89 average the first semester of my freshman year. In between that, I was in a relationship with a girl at 14 who I cared deeply about. I wasn't a Christian then, and she was pressuring me to have sex, and I was like, no, I don't want to have sex. No, actually, I had actually lost my virginity at the age of 12, um, and from 12 to that point, I just had no interest anymore in that. And I said, no, we can wait, and after a little while, she wound up getting pregnant, and of course, it could not have been mine. And this wasn't those situations where she was like, hey, Dre, I'm pregnant, and I'm like, is it mine? No, I knew it wasn't mine because we had no hanky panky going on at all, right? And I remember uh, going home crying because I really cared for her. And here she is, pregnant, and I felt like, man, like, dang, I didn't have sex with her, and somebody else did. She found somebody else that would, and now she's pregnant. And I remember contacting um, my mother. I was talking to my mother a little bit about it. She said, you know what, son, just go for a walk. Go for a walk. And as I'm walking, and this had to be about, it was dark outside, but it wasn't too late because it was like the winter time. And I ran into one of my friends, and I was telling my friends what happened. And he said, listen, I got something that's going to help you out. And we went across the street to the top of the projects and on the roof. He had me uh, some weed. That was the first night I ever got high. And he said it would make me feel better. Also, after that, I started to see women a little differently, girls a little differently. I told myself that I would not allow myself to get hurt like that again. So I was never outrightly disrespectful to women, like, you know, um, you know, cursing them out or calling out their name. That wasn't me. I just didn't want to give my all to, a girl. I was young, and I figured, if this is going to happen, I don't want it to happen to me like this again. So fast forward 3 years, that from my freshman year to the end of my junior year was pretty much a blur. Cutting school, getting high, parties, girls, you name it, that's what I was into. And there was this one kid named Matthew, right? He kept bothering me. He was a year under me in high school. He kept bothering me. Like, everywhere I was going, he would show up. Man, come to church with me. No, I'm good. He said, man, come to church with me. Nah, church isn't my thing anymore. I'm not into church. And then one day he said, come to my church. We have a gym there. Let's go play basketball. Basketball, I'm in. So I went to play basketball and had a nice time. And I saw some of the kids that I even went to school with there playing ball. So I decided to try the church out. So I went one Sunday morning, and it's a Pentecostal church. And as I'm in the service is going good. The message really touched me. And at the end of the service, everybody's bowing their heads for the service to close. And this woman goes off in tongues. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, she starts screaming. I'm scared. And I want to look around because I want to know what's happening. And I'm looking around, and there's everyone's head is bowed. And I didn't want to be the only person looking around, so I had my head bowed. And I started thinking to myself, I'm never coming back to this church again. Again. But after a while, after that, he kept pressuring me to come to church. And eventually I gave in because he invited me to go to a youth retreat to play in a basketball tournament there. We wind up losing the basketball tournament, but that Saturday, I gave my heart to Jesus, and that started the transformation in my life. And it went from me searching out what it meant to be a man to looking to God as the example of what a man is. And at that point, I started to be around older men, learning what manhood was all about. And I had people like my uncle who were there, and my cousin Dwight, my godfather. But again, they had lives of their own.
Right.
They couldn't consistently be there to guide me on a daily basis. If I called them up, they would be there for me. But sometimes if I called them up and they could not be there, or they couldn't answer the phone, I was stuck trying to make a decision on my own that at times I made the wrong decision. But at 17, I found Jesus, and that's what really changed my life.
Well, thank you for being so honest and transparent in sharing that story. Now, and I don't know how comfortable you are to share about this, but you're the father of 3 children.
Yes.
You're raising them on your own.
Yes.
Are you comfortable in sharing how that circumstance or circumstance?
Yeah, I can share a little bit about it. Actually, my oldest this past September went to try living with his mom. So I have the youngest 2 are with me, and my oldest trying it out. So we'll see how that goes. But just to share a little bit about how I came to be a single father. Back in 2009, March of 2009, I was married, and before that, and me and my ex-wife was going through, sort of like a rough patch. Here I was, a full-time assistant pastor at a church, and before that, my life was the church and then my family. So I was in a place where I had a pastor who demanded so much time from me, and my family, my wife, who demanded so much time from me, and she had the right to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my wife. So, but my pastor didn't understand that my family was first, and then everything else came second. My ministry came second, and that put a strain on our marriage in the very beginning. But it came to a point where I understood that, and I told myself that I would rather lose the ministry than lose my family. So I stopped, because here's how my schedule went: 9 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, and Saturdays I was at the church, and then I would leave at 5 o'clock, go home, eat dinner, and then be back at church Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. for 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock for evening services. You know, on Saturdays I was in the church all day, and of course Sunday we had 4 services. So, you know, that'll put a strain on the marriage. That'll
Yeah,
put a strain on the marriage.
absolutely.
So it got to the point where I stopped. I told the pastor, I can't do it. I can't be here every single night and every single day. My family's, you know, hurting. I need to be home. And then for, like, 2 to 3 years, I was home all the time, and still doing what I needed to do in the ministry. But my ex-wife wanted to, I guess, find herself.
Okay.
She really never thought that I would have been a pastor. When we got married, I was in Bible college, and we got married this semester. But she never thought that it would really happen. And I don't think that both of us truly understood the responsibility when it comes to being the wife of a pastor. It's not easy. It really isn't. And you're at the center of everything. And how you walk, people talk about. How you talk, people talk about. How you dress, you know. So you're pretty much in the center, and everybody's like looking at the wife, and not even so much the pastor. Like, they want to know, what is the wife doing? So that was a lot of pressure on her. And it seemed like whatever I tried to do to alleviate the pressure, it really didn't work, because, you know, we were pastoring at a pretty big church. It was tough. It was tough. But I love my wife dearly. I humbly say that I never raised a hand to her, never cheated on her, never. I was like, my family was my everything. I did whatever I could to try to keep my family together. But it got to a place where she wanted to go, and she just really wanted to live her life and find herself. And
I appreciate your honesty and transparency. I say transparency again, because it's not an easy thing. Now, so was it a point when she left that, did she want custody of the kids, or did she just leave?
Initially, no. Initially, she didn't want. She left because there was a season when she first left where she was just partying and living her life. Like, she was really, you know, doing whatever it is that she wanted to do. I guess sort of reliving her youth. And I'm so into my family that I would have fought tooth and nail if the kids were to leave. I think at that time also that the kids were more established with me, and we had consistency in the home. But she really wanted to live her life, and there's not much that I could have done about that. She wanted to live, and that's exactly what she did. So me having custody sort of came by default, because she left, and when she left without the kids.
Okay, no problem. We'll move on from that. Again, appreciate the honesty and openness.
Now, let me tell you this: like, she loves the kids. She's faithful with her visitation. She sees the kids every other weekend, and we're trying our best now to co-parent. And whenever you're co-parenting, not always the easiest thing, but we're doing our best to co-parent peacefully. And yeah, so.
Understood. One last thing before we move on to get into the roll call. Were you emotionally ready for that role, or like you knew that? I guess you knew your wife and yourself were going your separate ways. Were you emotionally ready? Was that something you were looking forward to doing and taking?
Okay. No. When I got married, I had no intentions of ever getting a divorce. I wanted to raise my children together. I wanted to be able to. We got married young enough where we could have celebrated 70 years, 75 years. You know, like, right. I wanted that. I wanted also to have a good relationship that my kids can look to. I wanted to exemplify what it meant to be a good husband and a good wife, so that my kids would have something, have an example to look to. Was I emotionally ready? Absolutely not. I had battled depression after she left. It was tough, and the one thing that really kept me was my relationship with God, and my relationship with my kids. My kids really were strong through the whole situation, and they gave that strength sort of gave me strength. So whenever I looked at them, whenever I watched them sleep, when they were scared and mommy wasn't home and they got into bed with me, that sort of gave me strength. Like, their situation and me wanting the best for them sort of gave me strength to really and do what I have to do to make sure that I provided for them and showed them love and support.
Excellent. That's good stuff. Well, let's move into the roll call. How did it start?
Yes.
Well, like, where did this idea come for this great organization?
Oh well. Okay. Here's how the idea came about. I released a book, From a Fatherless Father to His Sons, uh, back in Father's Day of 2012, and I didn't want what I was doing to stop with just a book. There's a lot of men out there, fathers, that want to be great fathers. They just lack the resources to do so. There are resources for single moms, new mothers, wives. You go to the courts, and it seems like every service that are in the courts are for women, are for mothers. So the roll call was started to sort of be a resource to encourage fatherhood engagement, to help dads become better fathers. So that's what the roll call is all about, and we started to be a support system for them. Some dads want to be better dads, they just don't know how. Some dads want to be able to see their kids, but their children's mother is keeping them from the kids. We're here to help just fathers to understand their rights as a dad, to give them the resources they need to be better engaged and better involved. And and we just want to encourage fatherhood engagement.
Where did the name come from? Why that name?
It came because me and my friend Pastor Jones was meeting together, and he was talking about starting an organization. And actually, it started because I wanted to do a mini documentary on fathers playing their role. So we wanted to call the documentary "The Roll Call," and then I'm like, wait a minute, let's stop there for a minute. If we're going to do this, let's not just make a documentary highlighting responsible fathers. Let's do something that would help all fathers become responsible. So we came up with the Roll Call and started this organization, the Roll Call, so that we can encourage responsible fatherhood. And the Roll Call sort of like all it is just encouraging fathers to answer the call of fatherhood, to answer the roll call of fatherhood. So we're sounding off, fathers, let's do this. So it's sort of like, we're the sergeant in the police, precinct, and we're doing the roll call, and we're getting all of our officers together and saying, okay, these are your jobs for the day. Go out and do it. So we're just, calling all fathers to answer the roll call to fatherhood.
Take us back to the early days of the roll call, and what were they like? And then also, what was the first success that you can remember of the roll call organization?
Okay. It's started, really grassroots, meeting with a couple of dads. And it started off with a conference that we did, the roll call conference. And what I was doing with the roll call was I was going to different places and I was speaking in different places in different cities and looking to establish roll call chapters in different cities. And I guess the first great success was the first roll call chapter that we had, the first roll call conference that we had in my hometown of Staten Island. And out of that sprouted doors opening where the roll call was now a resource that city agencies were looking to connect with, and even individuals. We had a success story with a young man who gave us a call. He actually was a little older. He had to be in his late 30s. And he gave us a call saying that his children's mother just left the state with his daughter. And I told him, well, that's not legal. So did you have custody? He said, yes. Then were you seeing her? She said, no. She kept telling me that I couldn't see her. But you had rights, she said. And I said, you went to the court and got the visitation. He said, yes. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to do it. He thought if he would have went to the courts, they would have, told him all kinds of negative things, because he felt that family courts favored moms, which in a sense they do. So we were able to connect him with a family lawyer that works with the roll call pro bono. You know, he can't dedicate so much time, but he helps with giving legal advice with fathers so that they know their rights as fathers, what the children's mother can and can't do, or what the custodial parent can and cannot do. And he was able to have the child come back to the state, and now he understands his right as a non-custodial parent with visitation. So now she's no longer able to say, no, you can't see the kids. You know, he has that right, and he knows it now. So there are fathers out there that want to be engaged. They just feel like the courts are against them. They don't know how to do it, and the roll call is behind them, trying to say, listen, you can do it. Don't let. First off, I tell fathers this: don't let anyone stop you from being a father. Don't let anyone stop you, even the courts. Don't let anyone stop you from being a dad. Your God-given responsibility on this planet, if you have a child, is to be the best father you can be. So you do it by any means necessary.
You have a very unique insight on fatherhood. What are the fathers telling you when you get a chance to communicate and connect with them?
They they want to be better dads. They want to be a good dad, and mostly a lot of these fathers today, they didn't grow up with their fathers, and I'm seeing like a change. Like there's my generation of fathers, and my generation, they're becoming better fathers. Like they want to be the fathers that their fathers were not. So they just want to know how they can be better fathers, and we just try to provide whatever resources that we can give to help them.
Are there specific areas where these men want to become better fathers?
um, Not necessarily one specific area. I think a lot of it has to do with the time that they spend with their kids. So many of the fathers that I do have a chance to speak to aren't custodial parents. You know? And they have that struggle, that battle, that struggle. You know, their mother, the child's mother, may be bitter or upset with them because of the relationship that they once had, but they're not in anymore. And they tend to take it out on the child's father through the children. So that seems to be the major thing when it comes to fathers wanting to be more involved, is the relationship they have with their children's mother. So my thing is, I tell them, listen, don't fight her, like, you know, physically fight or verbally fight. Don't get into arguments. If need be, take it to the courts. If you have to, yeah, you know, you may have to brown nose a little bit. You know, you may have to humble yourself and swallow your pride and take a little, you know, tongue lashing from, you know, baby mama for a little bit. But the one thing that will happen is that eventually that will stop. Eventually that will die down, and hopefully if you keep pressing and you keep trying to chisel at that wall, whatever bitterness and wall that the mom has built, it will come tumbling down. And same way with children that don't want to have a relationship with the father. I tell the fathers, make sure that you keep trying. Don't stop. If your children say, I want nothing to do with you, don't stop. Okay? They may be upset, they may be angry, they may be bitter because you weren't there. All right? And if you run away, you're only giving them, you know, reason to say, see, my dad is nothing anyway. So, but if you keep showing love and you keep showing that you're a repentant dad and that, you know, you want to be there, you keep chiseling at that wall, and eventually the wall will come tumbling down, and you'll be able to be the dad that you want to be.
Excellent. What are some of the programs that the roll call offers to fathers and single mothers?
Well, we have, with single moms, we have a program where we go in and we do trainings with single mothers on how to raise young boys. We counsel absentee fathers on how to get back in good graces with their families. We have a team of 1 to 2 family lawyers that would give free counsel to men and fathers who are confused about the legal system. We do mentoring, and we also have a support group for young fathers. And actually, this coming July, at the end of the month, I'll be in Washington, D.C. for the Fatherhood and Family Coalition Conference, and we'll be having a seminar that I'm doing there called "There Goes My Life." Have you ever heard that song by Kenny? It's a country song called "There Goes My Life" by Kenny Chesney. You ever heard it?
Unfortunately, not. I must say,
Oh,
I do
okay.
too many conversations. I don't get a chance to listen to a lot of music these days.
All
So
right. Well,
my
I'm not.
my
I'm,
bad.
that's all right. I'm not much of a country fan myself. I love all music. I just don't really listen to country music. But this song was I guess shared with me by a friend. It's called "There Goes My Life." And in the song, it starts off with a couple, like I guess a high school students. One's a football player, and after practice, he came out of the field and he saw his girlfriend there. And there weren't a word shared, but she was telling him something, and he was getting upset. And in the song, it talked about how he had his whole life ahead of him, and now he's having this baby. There goes his life. You know, the second part of that song, if you look at the video, you see him playing with this little girl, and it's apparent that he loves this little girl. And she's walking up the stairs, crawling up the stairs, and she looks back at him. And that's when the second chorus comes in. The second chorus comes in, and it goes from my career is over, there goes my life, I'm having a baby, to looking at this little child and looking at her and saying, there goes my life. And the last part of the song is she's growing up now, she's going off to college, and he's looking out the window, and she's in the car, and she's getting ready to drive off, and as she's driving off, he's looking at her, and he's saying, there goes my life. So
Wow.
with this particular thing, with this particular seminar that we do with young men and young moms too, is that we encourage them to see that just because you are having a child at a young age doesn't mean that your life is over. Your children become an extension of your life. So don't think that because you're having a child, there goes your life. Think that because you are having a child, when he or she comes, there goes your life. Children are an extension of life. So we work with young parents, we work with absentee fathers, we work with single mothers, we work with young men, so that when they become fathers, they're already sort of trained into what it means to be a good father. And those are the things that we really try to focus on with the roll call.
Excellent. Obviously you don't do this by yourself. Where do you get the staff to do such a great noble chore?
I have a team of amazing people that help me out. Some from pastors to even some friends. I have my godson's father in Miami, Florida. We have a roll call chapter out there. His name is Eddie. Eddington Jackson. Eddie Jackson. We have a staff and right now they're all volunteer. Praise God, they're all volunteer. But we have one in Providence here in New York City. We're looking to start up one in Chicago. If we can get somebody to commit to, we'll go out there and train them. And right now also in Los Angeles. Hey, and you're into what part of Canada are you in?
In Toronto.
We can start one in Toronto too.
I'm
Make it
here,
international.
and there are a number of father organizations in Toronto that are already in existence
Yeah.
that you could certainly, if you want, through me, connect with and grow with, or at least form an alliance with. That
Mhm.
would, I'm sure, love to, so where all the groups could work together and win together.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. And actually, I guess we could talk more about that, so I can maybe connect with some of them. But
Sure.
and also, I do have uh, this individual here. I'm not sure if you can see.
Yep.
And she's going to kill me for doing this. This is Carrie, all right,
Yep.
with Growth Matters. Growth Matters is an amazing organization that really helps with promotion and marketing. And they've really come alongside the roll call to see the roll call reach as many people as they can. Both Carrie and Lisa, who are co-founders of Growth Matters, are doing a great job really helping the roll call become what I guess God has meant for it to be.
Well, yeah, and
So
I've got to give major shout outs to Carrie too, because I don't know, she had sent something out and I was blessed enough to receive it, and I called her and we had a great conversation, and Uh, the reason why we're on the show today, Andre and
Yeah,
myself, is
yeah, she,
Carrie. So
yeah, she
major
is.
shout out. So how did Growth Matters and the roll call connect with each other?
Well, Carrie and I went to Bible college together.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess we met. Actually, we met a little before Bible college because she had a ministry group that came to my church. Then we went to Bible college together, and we lost contact throughout the years. But I think she reached out to me a couple of years ago when she found out what I was doing with the fathers, and invited me to connect with somebody else who was doing something with fathers also. And from then, um, Carrie and I met Lisa through Carrie and Growth Matters. We just really started to move forward this ship of eradicating fatherlessness.
Then let me ask, and as our time's winding, it's going real fast, and I'm speaking that you'll have time to come on for more conversations.
Absolutely.
I'd be remiss if I don't get your thoughts on the legal system in fatherhood. You've mentioned it throughout the conversation, but I want to focus and have you give your thoughts and your takes on how the legal system treats fathers and
Yeah.
where there's opportunity for it to improve.
I think that there is a definite handicap in the legal system when it comes to parental equality. Automatically, it's assumed that mom is the best person to take care of the children. Not necessarily true. And I think now there are more referees and lawyers that are coming up to not judge right away. You have some moms who really go to court and take the father to court for child support, and even would restrict visitation because they just don't like the children's father. And the courts are like, okay, whatever you want. And that's how it was in the past. Like the mother really did get whatever they want. And that's starting to change now. And I think it's because organizations like the Roll Call and even organizations like ACS, which is Administration of Children and Families and Administration of Children and Services, they're starting to see the importance of the father's role in a child's life. They see it now, and not everybody may see it, but it's starting to become more and more prevalent where they see, okay, dad is important, dad is needed, so let's see what we can do to make sure that the father has as much rights as do the moms. So there's a huge handicap, even still, there's still a handicap when it comes to equality when it comes to parental rights, because for some reason, and I would have to say this, I think it has to do with the generation prior. Many fathers were just non-existent. Moms generally are a little bit more nurturing. Moms generally are there, but that's starting to change. There's starting to be a shift in that. I know now more dads that are responsible fathers, and the children's mother are out, clubbing until 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I know fathers that are attending parent-teacher conferences. I know fathers that are, at every school recital. I see this, and I think other people are starting to see this also. So I think even now there's still a small handicap in favor of mothers, but that is starting to change now. And hopefully the roll call can help bring even more parental equality when it comes to the legal system, because just because mom is mom doesn't mean that the children are better off with mom. They could be better off with dad too.
Give us, during the journey of the roll call so far, it doesn't have to be something recent, or it can be something that you remember, a memorable moment during the journey of the roll call.
A memorable moment during the journey of the roll call. No, I think my whole thing is living and leaving a legacy, encouraging fathers to live and leave a legacy. And I think one of the most memorable moments for me is when my 6-year-old, it's not just one instance. He does this a lot. He does this a lot. He tells people all the time, Yes, my daddy's an author, and he started an organization to help dads. You know, I think that's big for me because I want to see my kid. I want my kids to see me doing things in community and doing things for other people, so that in hopes they will do the same. So if I leave a legacy, any kind of legacy for my kids, it'll be that you pour into other people and be a blessing to other people as well.
Well, you're such a good share, because I was going to ask about legacy, so you've answered that conversation. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to tell us what your book From a Fatherless Father to His Sons was all about, or is all about.
Okay. Actually, I have a copy right here. There it is. From a fatherless father to his sons is about the lessons that I learned growing up without a father that I teach to my sons and the young men that I mentor. Um, it has my real life situations that I went through, and the lessons that I learned, the mistakes that I made, and how I learned from those mistakes. And it's real, it's raw, and it's me. And I really wrote it with three audiences in mind. Also, young men growing up without fathers, single mothers forced to raise young men to become men on their own, and absentee fathers in hopes that they would become united with the church. If you look in the back of the book, I'm not sure if you have a copy yet, but if you don't, I'll make sure to get you one.
And look, Carrie's a superwoman, but sometimes she does. It's okay. It's all.
We'll get you a copy. If you look here, there's a picture of my sons here at the
Yep.
very top. Me and my kids, that's me. And this is my father, who I met in 2010 for the first time. Yeah. That's who. Yeah. So we met for the first time, and building a relationship now, which is good. But there were 30 years where I didn't know who he was,
Wow.
and I made a lot of mistakes, and I don't want my kids to have to make those mistakes. And I wrote this book sort of like in a first-person narrative, so it's as if I'm speaking to whoever it is that's reading this book. And my hope is that they would read it and not make the same mistakes that I made.
And as time winds down here, I'm gonna go hopefully get more conversation pieces in.
Mhm.
What what is your message to your father?
Um, Message to my father is um, yesterday is yesterday, and today's a new day. You know, build let's continue to build a relationship together and be the best grandfather that you can be to your grandchildren.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Also, now you had mentioned the three groups that you wanted to target or reach through your book.
Mhm.
Before we let you go tonight, what is your message to each one of those groups?
Um, Young man, growing up without a father, you don't have to be a statistic. And you don't have to wait to discover what it means to be a man. You can learn what it means to be a man right now. No matter if you're 12 or if you're 22, you can learn what it means to be a man right now. You can also get this book and it'll help you. Don't become a victim. Don't let the fact that you don't have a father handicap you either. Let that. You know what it is like. Let's say the good thing. Here's a beautiful thing about the human body. If one part of the body is hurting, all the other parts compensate for that portion that's hurting. I had a sprained back one time, and the doctor told me the reason why your back is sprained is because you have a pulled muscle. And what happens is all the good muscles around it will tense up to protect that pulled muscle so that it heals properly. So your back is stiff, but it's stiff for a reason. Also, in high school, I was in a basketball injury. I broke my ankle, right? I couldn't walk on my foot. So my right foot was broken, my left foot was good, and I had two good hands. So my arms and my other foot was compensating for the lack. Don't let the fact that you don't have a father or you don't know your father, handicap you in life. Learn what it means to be socially acceptable. Learn what it means to be a man now. To the single mothers out there, you're strong enough to do both. All right? But I do want to say that if you have an opportunity to plug your son with a responsible male mentor, please do so. because I think the balance of having a responsible female, yourself, in your child's life, and a responsible male, whether it be um, somebody you're seeing, uh, your husband, or a man in the community that can really father your son, allow them to happen because they need to see the balance. And you dads out there who have not been in touch with your kids, play your role. Go back and play the role of dad in your child's life. And even if they don't want to right now, you chisel at that wall until it breaks down with love. All right? It's going to be a hard road, but you can make it. You can do it. And if you need help, give us reach out to us at the roll call, and we'll help you any way we can.
Well, and I'll just piggyback on that. It's a hard road, but the rewards are great.
Very great, very great.
And
It's a legacy.
yeah,
It's legacy. Like
it'll live past the years that you're on this earth.
I tell dads that there are two ways you can live forever. One, accepting Jesus as your Savior, and two, the lessons that you learn, pass on to other people, because they'll take those lessons and pass it on to somebody else.
Good stuff. Well, Andre, first of all, we'd like to thank you for sharing with us tonight. You are outstanding and no surprise. Before we let you go, how can people connect with the roll call?
A couple of ways. You can go on our website, www.therollcall.org, therollcall.org. You can get us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/or/the roll call. YouTube, we have YouTube videos with things about how to tie a tie, dealing with angry sons, things like that, by going to youtube.com/answering the roll call. It's all one word.
Don't worry. If people can't remember, just go to the post. And
yeah, I'll go to the post.
There. I like to make things for my friends as possible. So can't remember everything. You got 3 kids. You got all this stuff going on. I like to lighten people's load whenever I can.
Thank you.
So that's no problem. So, Andre, really have to thank you on your time, and most importantly, the best to your family. That's number one, and really appreciate the time that you're giving not only to your own family but families all around the world.
Thank you so much.
In your mission, and the mic and the camera is always open. We've already discussed online some other opportunities for you to be on the show, so we're looking forward to it. So again, much thanks. Also, big thanks to Carrie. You are outstanding. You are outstanding, and we were going to be talking for more of Andre and what he does. So as always, it's Dr. Vibe here. I'm the host and producer of the Dr. Vibe Show. Also host and producer of Do You Know What Time It Is? Weekly roundtable of black men who give commentary on news events on most Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, host and co-producer of monthly Google Hangouts at the Good Men Project, and also have the only online show that is featured on a regular basis at the Good Men Project. Anyway, the best way to get a hold of me, just go to my website, drvibeshow.com, and all my contact information is there. As always, we like to say, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. Bye-bye.